Hello, everyone. Are you ready to make your English skills shine, put your confusion to rest, and take your vocabulary to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into the world of phrasal verbs, those tricky little combinations of verbs and prepositions that can make or break your English fluency. We're focusing on three powerhouse verbs: make, put, and take. These verbs are like Swiss Army knives. They can do it all. But with so many meanings, they can also be a bit of a headache. Don't worry, though. By the end of this video, you'll be able to make sense of these phrasal verbs, put them into practice with confidence, and take your English skills to new heights. So grab a notebook, put on your thinking cap, and let's make this fun. Ready? Let's take off. Ever wondered how one little verb like make can make such a big difference in English? Well, buckle up, because we're about to make it crystal clear. From making up stories to making out what someone's saying, these phrasal verbs are everywhere. And guess what? They're not as tricky as they seem. Once you make sense of them, you'll be making progress in no time. So, are you ready to make the most of this lesson? Let's make it happen and dive into the amazing world of make phrasal verbs. The first phrasal verb is make up, which has a couple of meanings. It can mean to invent or create something. I'll show you an example. He made up a funny story to explain why he was late. It can also mean to compose or form something. Let me show you an example. This team is made up of people from different countries. The second phrasal verb is make out, which has a few different meanings depending on the context. It can mean to understand or decipher something, often when it's difficult to see or hear. Here's an example for you. I couldn't make out what she was saying because the music was too loud. It can also mean to kiss passionately or engage in heavy physical affection. Look at this example. They were making out in the backseat of the car. The third phrasal verb is make for, which has a couple of key meanings. It can mean to move toward or head in the direction of something. Here is an example. After the meeting, they made for the exit to catch their train. It can also mean to contribute to or result in something. Look at this example. His positive attitude makes for a great work environment. This phrasal verb is often used to describe movement toward a place or the creation of a particular result. It's a useful phrasal verb for both physical and abstract contexts. The fourth phrasal verb is make up for, which means to compensate for something or to do something to correct a mistake, loss, or lack. It's often used when someone tries to balance or improve a situation. Let me show you an example. She worked extra hours to make up for the time she missed last week. This phrasal verbs is about fixing or balancing something, whether it's time, effort, or even emotions. It's a great phrasal verb to show how people try to improve or compensate for something. The fifth phrasal verb is make up to, which means to try to gain someone's favor or forgiveness, especially after doing something wrong. It often involves doing something nice or extra to make the person feel better. Here is an example. He bought her flowers to make up to her for forgetting their anniversary. This phrasal verb is about apologizing or trying to repair a relationship by doing something thoughtful. It's a great way to show how people try to fix mistakes and make others feel valued. The verb put is like a chameleon. It changes meaning depending on the little words that follow it. Whether you're putting on a show, putting up with a tough situation, or just trying to put your thoughts into words, these phrasal verbs are here to save the day. So, let's put our heads together and put these phrasal verbs into action. By the end of this segment, you'll be able to put them to use like a pro. Let's dive in and put the fun back into learning. The first phrasal verb is put in, which has a few different meanings depending on the context. It can mean to invest time, effort, or work into something. Here is an example. She put in a lot of hours to finish the project on time. It can also mean to install or add something. Look at this example. We decided to put in a new window to let in more light. It can also mean to formally submit or present something like a request or application. I'll show you an example. He put in a request for a day off next week. The second phrasal verb is put on, which has several meanings. It can mean to wear clothing or accessories. Here is an example. She put on her coat before going outside. It can also mean to apply something like makeup or lotion. Look at this example. He put on sunscreen to protect his skin from the sun. It can also mean to pretend or act in a way that's not genuine. I'll show you an example. He's not really angry. He's just putting on an act. It can also mean to add or gain weight. Let me show you an example. She put on a few pounds during the holidays. The third phrasal verb is put out, which has several meanings depending on the context. It can mean to extinguish or stop something burning, like a fire or cigarette. Here is an example. He put out the campfire before leaving the site. It can also mean to produce or publish something, like a book, article, or product. Look at this example. The company put out a new smartphone last month. It can also mean to make something available or visible. I'll show you an example. She put out snacks for the guests as they arrived. The fourth phrasal verb is put up, which has several meanings. It can mean to build or erect something, like a structure or sign. Here is an example. They put up a new fence around their garden. It can also mean to provide accommodation or a place to stay. I'll show you an example. She put up her friend for the weekend while he was visiting. It can also mean to display or show something, like a poster or artwork. Let me show you an example. The students put up their paintings in the school hallway. The phrasal verb put off has a couple of key meanings. It can mean to postpone or delay something. Here is an example. They decided to put off the meeting until next week. It can also mean to discourage or make someone lose interest. I'll show you an example. His rude behavior really put her off. This phrasal verbs is often used to describe delaying an event or task, or to describe something that makes someone feel less enthusiastic. It's a useful phrasal verb for both time management and personal interactions. The phrasal verb put back has a specific meaning. It can mean to turn the clock to an earlier time, often used when daylight saving time ends. Here's an example. Don't forget to put the clock back an hour tonight before you go to bed. It can also mean to return to a previous situation or time, often used metaphorically. Look at this example. We can't put the clock back and undo the mistakes of the past. This phrasal verb is often used literally when adjusting clocks for daylight saving time, but it can also be used metaphorically to talk about returning to an earlier time or situation. It's a great phrasal verb for both practical and figurative contexts. The seventh phrasal verb is put up with, which means to tolerate or endure something unpleasant or annoying. It's often used when someone has to deal with a difficult situation, person, or behavior. Here is an example. She has to put up with a lot of noise from her neighbors every night. This phrasal verb is about enduring something that isn't ideal or enjoyable. It's a great way to describe patience or resilience in challenging situations. The last phrasal verb is put someone onto someone or something, which means to introduce someone to a person, idea, or thing that might be useful, interesting, or beneficial. It's often used when someone shares a valuable tip, recommendation, or opportunity. Look at this example. My friend put me onto a great new restaurant in the city. This phrasal verb is about sharing useful information or connections. It's a great way to describe how people help each other discover new opportunities or resources. It's time to take charge of your learning because the verb take is about to blow your mind. From taking off on an adventure to taking up a new hobby, these phrasal verbs are everywhere and they're super useful. So, take a deep breath and let's take these phrasal verbs head on. By the end of this segment, you'll be ready to take on any English challenge. The first phrasal verb is take apart, which means to disassemble or separate something into its individual parts. It can be used literally, like taking apart a machine, or figuratively, like analyzing something in detail. Here is an example. He took apart the old computer to see how it worked. This phrasal verb is about breaking something down, whether physically or analytically. It's a great way to describe detailed examination or disassembly. The second phrasal verb is take aside, which means to move someone away from a group or situation to speak to them privately. It's often used when someone needs to have a serious or confidential conversation. Look at this example. The teacher took the student aside to discuss his behavior in class. This phrasal verb is about having a private or one-on-one conversation, often to address something important. It's a great way of describing personal or confidential interactions. The third phrasal verb is take off, which has several meanings depending on the context. It can mean to remove something. Here is an example. She took off her coat when she entered the house. It can also mean to leave or depart, especially for a trip or flight. Look at this example. The plane took off on time and arrived early. It can also mean to become successful or popular quickly. I'll show you an example. Her new business really took off after it was featured in the news. It can also mean to take time off work or school. Let me show you an example. He took off a few days to spend time with his family. The fourth phrasal verb is take up, which has a couple of meanings. It can mean to start a new hobby, activity, or interest. Here is an example. She decided to take up painting as a way to relax. It can also mean to occupy space or time. Look at this example. This sofa takes up too much space in the living room. The fifth phrasal verb is take away, which has a few key meanings. It can mean to remove something from a place or person. Here is an example. The waiter took away our plates after we finished eating. It can also mean to subtract or reduce something. Look at this example. If you take away 5 from 10, you get 5. It can also mean to buy food from a restaurant to eat elsewhere. I'll show you an example. Let's order pizza and take it away to eat at home. The sixth phrasal verb is take back, which has a couple of meanings. It can mean to retract or withdraw something said. Here's an example for you. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I take it back. It can also mean to return to a previous time or situation, often nostalgically. Look at this example. This song takes me back to my high school days. The seventh phrasal verb is take in, which means to understand or absorb information. Here is an example. It took me a while to take in everything the teacher said. The next phrasal verb is take to, which has a couple of key meanings. It can mean to develop a liking or habit for something. Here is an example. She took to painting immediately and now does it every weekend. It can also mean to go to a place for rest, safety, or privacy. Look at this example. When he's stressed, he takes to his room to relax. The ninth phrasal verb is take up on, which means to accept an offer, invitation, or challenge that someone has presented to you. It's often used when someone decides to act on an opportunity or suggestion. I'll show you an example. She took me up on my offer to help her with the project. The 10th phrasal verb is take out of vi, which means to extract something, like information, energy, or emotion, from someone. It's often used when someone feels drained or when information is being drawn from them. Look at this example. The detective took the truth out of the suspect after hours of questioning. And that's it for today's lesson on phrasal verbs with make, put, and take. I hope you found this video helpful and feel more confident using these phrasal verbs in your everyday English. Remember, practice makes perfect. Try using at least one of these phrasal verbs in a sentence this week, whether it's in a conversation, a text, or even in the comments below. I'd love to see how you're putting what you've learned into action. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends who are also learning English, and subscribe to the channel for more lessons like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep going after your English goals.